Hey, I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install a Tusk Stage 3 upgrade kit on your Polaris XP4 Turbo and the XP4 1000s. Now the Stage 3 kit, that is the most premium kit out of your three options, and it's going to come with some serious upgrades to help your machine not only stand out, but maximize rider comfort. Now what this kit includes is the folding glass windshield, you have the pivot folding mirrors with the A-pillar mounts, the force aluminum roof, a rear glass window, and you have the plastic lower door inserts. So those are the items that come in the kit. I'm going to show you how to get them installed. We're going to start out with installing our mirrors. So to do that, we're going to remove both A-pillar bolts on each side, and we're just using a 15mm socket to do that. And we're not going to be reusing this bolt, but we will be reusing this nylock nut on the back. And this top bolt, it's kind of bound up since the A-pillar is separating. So I'm going to use an alignment punch to help remove that. Now we need to install the mirror mounts. Just keep in mind the bracket that the mirror actually mounts to. This little tab needs to be facing towards the back of the machine. And then the bolts that came with the mirror mounts, we're not going to use those. We're using the bolts and washers that came in the folding glass windshield, since we need some longer bolts for the windshield mount. So to get this installed, I'm going to start with the top bolt, and you're probably going to have to use an alignment punch to get the A-pillar lined back up. Then I'm going to use a 17mm socket to tighten these bolts down. And before you tighten this top bolt down all the way, you want to make sure you have both bolts installed. And then once both bolts are started, we'll go ahead and tighten them down all the way. Next, we're going to remove the bolt and the star washer from our mirror. Now, this bolt is going to take a 13mm wrench. We're going to install the bolt through the inside of that mirror mount bracket. Then we'll install the star washer and the mirror. Once you have the mirror adjusted where you want it, you can go ahead and tighten the bolt down. Then we'll go ahead and do those same steps on the other side. For the roof, we have the hardware kit. So this is going to come with the clamps. We have our nuts and bolts and some foam tape. We're also going to be using a 4 and 5mm Allen, as well as a 10mm combo wrench. And then of course we have the front and rear piece to the roof. Next, we need to remove the two top mounting bolts in the visor. And then we have a clip nut that those bolts were going into. We're going to remove both of those and replace them with the bigger ones that come in our kit. Next, I'm going to have a friend help me set the front section of the roof in place. Now we're going to go ahead and loosely install the two M8 by 30mm bolts. Now we're going to set the rear portion of the roof into place, and it's going to sit under this lip on the front section. And keep in mind that these rails on the side, they are going to be facing up. And then we just need to line the holes up on both sections, and we're going to bolt them together. The button head bolt is going to come through the top, and the nylock nuts are going to come through the bottom. Once you have those bolts and nuts installed, we'll go ahead and tighten all 6 of them. Next, we're going to install the 6 roll cage clamps. Now this flat portion, this is going to be facing up against the roof. We'll remove this bigger bolt first. And then we'll take out both mounting bolts. Then we're going to take this rubber strap, we're going to install it around the roll cage right next to the mounting slot. Then we're going to install the clamp around it. And we're going to leave that mounting hardware loose for now. Then we'll repeat those same steps for the remaining 5 clamps. Next, we're going to adjust the roof for the optimal fit. Then once you have the optimal fit, we're going to take the 6 bolts that we removed from the clamps earlier. We're going to put those through the roof along with the washers and tighten them down. Once we have those bolts tightened up, you want to tighten down these clamps evenly on both sides. With all those clamps tightened down, we're going to remove the 8 bolts securing the roof and remove it. Next, we're going to take our roll of foam tape and we're going to cut little sections, and they're going to go in between our mounting locations for the roof. And you know, this foam tape, it doesn't have to cover every inch, but what it's going to be doing is help to dampen vibration to the roof. Now with the foam tape installed, we'll go ahead and set the roof back into place and reinstall and tighten all of the mounting bolts. To get the folding glass windshield installed, we're going to start by installing the bulb sill. So we have 2 shorter pieces and 1 longer piece. Longer piece goes in the middle, and then we'll work the 2 shorter pieces around this side. Next, we're going to assemble the brackets for the vent door. So first thing, we've got bracket A. We're going to install that by using the 2 5mm Allen head bolts and the nylocks on the back side. And we're leaving all this hardware loose until we have it all installed. Next, we're going to install vent bracket B. So this L is going to be facing the left side of the windshield. These are going to be the M6 Allen head bolts with the nylock nuts. Next, we'll take bracket C. We've got this arc facing like that. The M6 bolt, Allen bolt, that's going to go through the right side. And we've got the nylock nut on the back. And we've got the knob. We'll stick that through bracket C. Then we've got the friction washer between that and bracket A. Then from here, we're going to want to make our adjustments. We'll tighten this lower bracket first, and this top bracket, we have some adjustability in it, so we'll do that last. Just keep in mind when you tighten this pivot bolt, you don't want to get it too tight or the door isn't going to work. Next, we're going to install the foam tape onto the upper filler panel, and we've got the inside facing up. We're just going to start on one end of this and work the foam tape all the way across the top. Next, we're going to install the brackets for the folding windshield. Again, we already have those longer bolts through the A-pillar mounts. So we're just going to slide those on and install the nuts that come in the windshield kit. Then we're going to use our 15mm box end wrench to tighten these nuts down. Next, we're going to install our roll cage clamps for the filler panel. So we'll remove this backing. And we'll take the rubber strip. We're going to go around the roll cage with it about an inch below the bottom edge of that sun visor. Then we'll set the top side of the clamp in place. The top side has that flat edge and the bolt sitting right there. Then we're just going to loosely install the back of the clamp. Then we'll remove that bolt from the front side. Then we'll put the other clamp on the other side. Next, we're going to set the filler panel in place and reinstall those 2 bolts into the clamps. And with these 2 bolts, and when we first put the bolts into the folding glass windshield, all of that hardware is going to be left loose, and that way we can make our adjustments. So you can see this filler panel doesn't really line up with the visor really well right now. So we're going to slide up these clamps we just installed. Once you have the filler panel where you want it, you can go ahead and tighten the hardware down. Before you install the windshield, you want to prep these knobs. So you've got a washer that goes on there, then the rubber grommet. We're going to leave those knobs on both sides and then set the windshield in place. Keep in mind, it's a good idea to have a friend help you do that. Once you have that windshield in place, you'll go ahead and install the 3 button head bolts on each side with the nylock nuts. And just for reference, these are the larger button head bolts. With the lower hardware loosely installed, you want to adjust the windshield for optimal fit and make sure that you have these slots for the knobs lined up with the threads on the filler panel. So we'll go ahead and adjust this. And then you can take those knobs and install them. Now that we have everything loosely installed, we'll go ahead and tighten down all of the hardware. Now we can take the knobs out of the windshield, and we're going to use a 2-inch roll of masking tape to space the folding windshield from the hood. If you don't have that, you can use a 2x4 or 4x4, just a small block of wood. Then we'll fold that windshield down. Now we're ready to install the standoff brackets. Just keep in mind the rubber cushion is going to be facing towards the back. We're going to set this in place, and now that I roughly know where we're going to be drilling holes, I'm going to put some masking tape there to help mark everything. I'm going to set that bracket back into place. We're going to take the knob and thread this onto the bracket. Then we're going to mark where we're going to drill through those 2 mounting holes. Then we can remove the standoff bracket, and we're going to use a 1/4-inch drill bit to drill both of those holes. Then we'll set the standoff bracket back into place. And we'll set the nut plate into place. And we'll install the 2 button head bolts and tighten them down. Then we'll go ahead and do those same steps on the other side. Next on the filler panel, we're going to be installing our windshield wiper. You notice there's 3 buttons covering up some holes. So we're only gonna remove 2 of those buttons. So this first one, we're gonna push that out and we're gonna install a bolt and a spacer, and that's gonna hold our windshield wiper out of the way. There's a little nylock nut that goes on the back. And then we'll remove that middle button. Then I'm gonna take the wiper knob, I'll remove that smaller nut. Then the larger nut, there's a washer and grommet behind it. We'll leave that second grommet in place. And we're going to insert this assembly through the back side of the filler panel. Reinstall the grommet, the washer, and the larger nut. We'll use some 17mm open-end wrenches to snug that down. But before I do that, I'm going to remove this knob, otherwise it'll just fall out. Now we're going to prep the wiper. So on this, we're going to press in on both sides of these tabs. Pop that plastic piece up. We're going to take the arm, we'll slide it through there and hook it onto the wiper. And then press that plastic cover down into place. And then before we install this onto the wiper arm, we're going to have to fold the folding glass windshield up. Then we'll insert the knob through the back, and the arm on the knob, we're going to line that up with the wiper arm. So once you have those lined up, we'll just work the wiper arm down into place. Keep in mind it's got some splines you need to line up. Pull that plastic cover up and install the nut on the end. And we'll press down on the plastic cover, and we're going to remove that wiper out of the way. Next, we're going to install the rear window. Now we need to prep this first, so we're going to start out by installing these 4 pieces of flap seal. These just go in the slots that are cut out for a safety harness. Next, we're going to flip the rear window over. Then we're going to install the bulb seal around the perimeter on both sides and the top. And this 90-degree bulb seal, this is going to be facing the back of the machine. Next, we're going to install the flap seal across the bottom. Next, we're going to remove the upper mounting bolt for the passenger side rear seat belt, and then we're going to remove the seats. Next, we're going to install the 8 P-clamps around the roll cage. Keep in mind this flat portion, that's going to be facing in towards the cab. So the first one is going to go right below this crossbar. We'll pull that tight. The next one is going to go just above that crossbar. It's actually going to go up here, but it's probably just going to fall down right there. And then we have that seat belt mount. We've got one more that's going to go above that. And then we've got 2 across the top. And we'll do all those same locations on the other side. Coming from the passenger side, I'm going to install the rear window and then install the hardware. So you're going to have your button head bolt and the washer. That's going to come from inside the cab, through the rear window, through that clamp, and then you're going to have the nut on the back side. With all of that hardware loosely installed, you can make your final adjustments to the rear window and tighten it down. Next, we'll reinstall our upper seatbelt mount and the seats. Moving on, we're going to install the lower door inserts, and we're only going to show the process on the driver's side. So this is for the front driver's side door, and we need to install the door frame onto this plastic insert. So we're just going to set this together just like that. It's only going to fit one way. And then we have these self-tapping screws we're going to put in all of these mounting holes. So we've got 3 right here. Then we'll do the same thing to the rear lower door insert. Starting out with the driver's door, we're going to remove the door skin by taking out the 6 T25 Torx screws. Now to install the lower door insert to the frame of the upper door, we're just going to slide these 2 tabs into place, let that hang down, and these larger T45 button head bolts, we're going to loosely install those so we still have adjustability. Then we'll take one of the 2 mounting brackets that come with these inserts, and there's only one way these can go. Once you line it up with these 4 holes, we'll loosely install these lower 2 mounting bolts. Then for the upper 2, again, it's the larger button head bolts. We'll set those through there, and the nylock nuts are going to go on the back side. And then from here, what we're going to do is actually latch the door. We're going to adjust the insert for the optimal fitment, and then tighten down all of this hardware. With that hardware tightened down, we'll go ahead and reinstall the door skin. Now for the rear doors, again, we're just going to take these 2 tabs, hook them into the door, and the larger button head bolts, we'll install those, shut the door, make some final adjustments, and tighten those 2 bolts down. And that's how you install the Tusk Stage 3 Upgrade Kit on your Polaris XP4 Turbo or XP4 1000. Now these kits, they're not that bad to install, and if you need one, you can get one on our website. Now if you have any questions about the install process, leave those questions down in the comments below, and if you want to see more helpful content on your RZR, then make sure you subscribe to our channel and stay up on our latest content. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain. Thanks for watching.